So there was a guy who lived in Humboldt County for a pretty short period of time, but his name was Cortland Edwards, also known as Court Edwards. And he became known for unicycling across the US. And so he had unicycled obscene distances before. I think one time he went from Bakersfield to San Francisco or something. And this is turn of the century, so this is before paved roads. It's all dirt, you know, going over hills and stuff like that. And he lived here in Eureka. He said, you know what, I'm going to unicycle across the US. And he said, dear wife of mine, come with me. And she said, no, I'm a proper Victorian lady. To unicycle, I would need to wear something called fleshlings, which are basically tights. She says, I'm a proper lady, I'm not going to wear fleshlings and unicycle with you. So he said, okay, well, I'm going to still go anyway, so I will see you later. And she ended up divorcing him for abandonment because of that. But he ended up going ahead and unicycling across the US. And it took him, I think it was about a year or so that he had just kind of disappeared on this unicycling quest. And there was a news story in New York, I think, that said, you know, we heard about this guy who said he was going to unicycle across the US. We haven't seen him in a while, so I hope he made it, you know. And along with his unicycle, he also had something called a cornet, which is a type of small trumpet. So he would unicycle and do little trumpet performances. And I think his unicycle weighed something like 50 pounds. It was crazy. And eventually he did make it to New York, but instead of having a unicycle, he had a motorcycle. He said the unicycle was far too much work, so he had picked up a motorcycle somewhere along the way. And this was at a time when motorcycles were literally just regular bicycles, but they put a motor on it, and they could go pretty quick. And he got into motorcycle racing. And at the time, these motorcycles could go 100 miles an hour. They didn't have brakes, which was a little scary. And you would wear these leather helmets, which I don't think would really protect you from much of anything if you're going 100 miles an hour. But he became a famous motorcycle racer, and it ended up killing him, unfortunately. He was in a race and he crashed and he died, and that was how he died. But a couple years after that, they outlawed that style of motorcycle racing. You'd be racing on a track that was at a 45-degree angle going in a circle. And the crowd watching it would be situated right at the top of it. So if you were to crash, you would kind of fly up and end up in the crowd, which is a serious issue, as you could probably tell. And that's the story of Court Edwards. He lived in Humboldt County just for a short period of time, but one of the many, many interesting characters who has passed through Humboldt County.